Mavis Beacon. Now there's an unforgettable name, and that is of course due to Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, developed and published by the software Toolworks in 1987 for popular personal computers of its day. And a big shout out to Jim, aka Cityside75, who gave me this Apple IIgs copy of it, one which appears to have been in a library at some point. And that makes sense, seeing as this program was omnipresent in educational institutions well into the 90s, not just because it was an award-winning typing tutor, but because of Mavis Beacon herself. Just look at her smiling, friendly face. She looks like the personification of patience and understanding. Too bad she isn't real. Yes, that's right. Mavis Beacon, arguably the most memorable typist of all time, is no more real than Uncle Sam, Betty Crocker, or Stan and Jan Berenstein. However, Mavis Beacon, being fictional, seems to be particularly tough to accept for some, to the point where there have been reports of people swearing they saw her, interviewed on talk shows, witnessed her winning a typing competition, or riding the Loch Ness Monster with Bigfoot. But nope, Miss Beacon was a marketing ploy, inspired in part by the software Toolworks' recent game, Chessmaster 2000, which had box art that was designed to make players feel like they were competing against a magical chess wizard instead of just a piece of software. So for their idea for a typing program, why not make up the idea of the world's best typing teacher, anthropomorphizing a typing program into something more personable? The company chairman, former talk show host Les Crane, chose the name Mavis because he was a fan of singer Mavis Staples, and Beacon was chosen because of the inference of a beacon of light to guide your way, something warm and inviting. Of course, if you were my childhood friend, you just called her Mavis Bacon. Kinda has a better ring to it, actually. Mavis Beacon, Mavis Bacon, Bacon, yeah, Bacon. I like bacon. So okay, we know how they came up with the name, but who is the lady on the cover? Allow me to introduce you to Renee L'Espérance, a Haitian immigrant that two of the software Toolworks guys met while she was working the counter at a Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. She instantly struck them as the perfect model for Mavis Beacon, even though she'd never modeled and had 3-inch fingernails that made no sense for typing. They got her some professional-looking clothes and took the photos in an afternoon, paid her a flat fee for her time, and that was that. While Renee effectively disappeared by 1990 after moving back to the Caribbean, her character, Mavis Beacon, went on to become an internationally known star of sorts, as they reused those original photos for years before switching to other models. Inside this version of the program, you got 2 copy-protected 3.5-inch floppy disks, as well as a delightful 62-page manual with a classy typewriter on the front. And this thing is absolutely awesome, being packed to the brim with everything from how to use the program to an extensive history of typing, to the concept behind the program's teaching methods, and even a section about alternate keyboard layouts the program supports. There's even a section of recommended keyboard upgrades, complete with pricing and brief reviews. There's a $250 Keytronic Dvorak keyboard recommended here. Mavis Beacon did not screw around. On to the program itself, and in this review, we'll be looking at the IBM PC version, since that is what it was originally developed for, and I haven't met my CGA quota for the week. After that delightful beeper rendition of Leroy Anderson's The Typewriter, you can type in your name and start the tutoring process, beginning with a few questions regarding your age and typing experience. Even if you're not entirely sure what to pick, it's no big deal, because the beauty of Mavis Beacon, well, other than the obvious, is that the program is surprisingly dynamic in how it teaches you. You can start with the most basic of typing know-how or with decades of practice, and the program will still find ways to challenge you the more you interact with it. Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing is divided up into 3 main parts: the chalkboard, the classroom, and the arcade. The chalkboard screen is where you'll be addressed directly by your teacher, Mavis Beacon, kind of. In later releases, she plays a much more prominent role, where you can hear her voice and see her face making eye contact and all that, but in this first version, it's just a bunch of text. A logical choice, seeing as it's meant to run on PCs spec'd as low as a 4.77 MHz 8088 CPU and 256K of RAM. Regardless, it still communicates the idea that you're being taught, rather than commanded to do a bunch of crap. In the classroom mode, you're shown 2 ghost hands that gently remind you where your fingers are supposed to be, and a screen above that shows you where to type. After this, you're given a quick summary of how you did, but it doesn't stop at displaying your words per minute and number of errors. After every session, it reevaluates how you're doing, and the faceless Mavis provides encouragement and constructive criticism as needed. It will then adjust the difficulty and present challenges it thinks you could use, and that's where things start to get interesting. It singles out areas you're strong with and increases the challenge to try and make you stronger, using things like accuracy tests and a metronome to let you know how many key presses should be between each beat, and it'll highlight the areas you're weak and slowly build you up so that you can improve at a decent pace. It almost immediately found things that slow me down, like typing in number row symbols and words that use the letter X a lot, without me ever telling it this was the case. Lastly, there is the arcade mode, which is a simple yet deceptively anxiety-inducing racing minigame. Type the words scrolling across the top of the screen as fast and quickly as possible to increase your speed and outrun your opponent. When you mess up, you slow down and a bug splats in the windshield, and that's about it. Seems kind of fun, but my problem is the font that it uses for the text, which is just, I don't know, it's ugly and hard to read sometimes. I understand that it's meant to be a challenge, but white on cyan is just hard to look at, and the characters themselves are sometimes stretched in ways that make it too easy to mess up. It's not a big deal, but even though it's the most game-like mode of Mavis Beacon, it's my least favorite part of the program. My favorite aspect is just the straight-up typing challenges, where you're pushed to enhance your speed and accuracy by typing in increasingly odd and unpredictable works of fiction. So much of the stuff it has you type in is total nonsense, and I love it. I also like how if you go crazy and just pound on the keys, it asks you if you're okay and recommends taking a break if you're frustrated. Yeah, it's pretty awesome how alive this little program feels by way of an algorithmic tutor with a few clever lines of dialogue. And it also provides a great sense of achievement by way of graphs and assorted infographics showing how much you've improved and how much further you still have to go. It's totally user-driven. You can start and stop anytime you like, and even customize it with your own text files and lesson plans, but just the basic program is still super effective. I can't help but be charmed by how much this does with such a straightforward DOS application in 4 colors, and it's impressive how well it holds up today in terms of still being an effective typing tutor. Even if there's no Mavis Beacon in reality, she nonetheless lives on in the hearts and minds of millions of us that had our typing skills challenged and improved by her non-existent persona. And if you enjoyed this LGR Edutainment Month episode, then I hope you stick around. There is more to come, and there's plenty more that I've done in the past, so check out the channel if you like this kind of stuff. And as always, thank you very much for watching.